interested in longevity, have a look at this figure from our publication, which is entitled Nutraceutical Activation of SIRT1, a Review. And SIRT1 is a longevity enzyme. So if you want to live longer, there are two main enzymes that you want to activate. That would be SIRT1 and AMPK. And our review paper has this nice figure that breaks down all the supplements that can actually do this. So most people don't understand that actually inhibiting oxidative stress is one of the best ways to activate SIRT1 because oxidative stress inhibits SIRT1. So simple, I would say multivitamin/mineral, which acts as an antioxidant itself, like magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin E, all these things. They all can help reduce oxidative stress. So here I would say a nice multivitamin/mineral is going to help inhibit the inhibitor of SIRT1. Now tetrahydrocurcumin and astaxanthin can also activate SIRT1. So that would be things like turmeric or curcumin, and astaxanthin is a carotenoid that you can get by itself, but you can also get it through krill oil. And basically astaxanthin is what gives flamingos their pink color because it's contained in things like krill and shrimp. There's also something, a lot of people know about NR, nicotinamide riboside, and nicotinamide mononucleotide to boost NAD. Many people are familiar with that. NMA, though, is a metabolite of nicotinamide, and it can boost SIRT1 by inhibiting the inhibitor. So this is also an interesting longevity complex as well. Moving forward, melatonin. Melatonin is a longevity supplement as well. A lot of people think of it, for falling asleep, but higher doses have been shown to have very significant antioxidant effects by stimulating what's called bMAL1. These clock genes, and it can increase SIRT1 mRNA. Ferulic acid at 500 milligrams twice a day is also something that can stimulate messenger RNA for SIRT1 and increase SIRT1 activity. You also have things like N-acetylcysteine, taurine, and betaine, which increase hydrogen sulfide, which is an anti-inflammatory gas, which can increase SIRT1 activity. Resveratrol doesn't have that good a bioavailability, but everyone knows it's the first kind of quote-unquote SIRT1 activator. It just has poor bioavailability orally, so that's why they're looking into like phytosomes for resveratrol. We talked about NR and NMN, but I actually believe better ways to increase NAD levels is actually thymoquinone, which is found in black seed oil. A good dose is anywhere from like 30 to 60 milligrams of thymoquinone. And then also PQQ, about 20 milligrams of PQQ. Much better in my opinion because not only does it increase NAD, but these have broad spectrum anti-inflammatory effects as well. Medium chain triglycerides can increase beta hydroxybutyrate, basically a ketone body, which can increase NAD as well. And then you have things like salicylate, which inhibits nuclear factor kappa beta, which can basically inhibit the rate-limiting enzyme for producing NAD. We already talked about antioxidants for inhibiting reactive oxygen species, but this is also how oxidative stress sort of inhibits the production of NAD through this pathway. And then lastly, you have berberine and dihydroberberine. Dihydroberberine allows you to use about 1/5 the dose of berberine, but this activates AMPK. And AMPK is activated through things like caloric restriction, exercise, etc. But really, caloric restriction doesn't seem to lead to longevity really in humans. We've seen this in animals, but really we need good amounts of caloric intake to build muscle, to fuel us. It doesn't really seem like these nematode and even mice studies basically restricting caloric intake, which leads to like increases in lifespan. That doesn't really seem to work in humans. I think intermittent fasting may have some benefit, but actually like a chronic calorie restriction I think is a deficit to humans. So berberine, another very good supplement, usually dosed 500 to 1,000 milligrams 2 to 3 times a day. Typically the max dose is usually around basically 2,500 milligrams total. But typically it's dosed at 500 milligrams 3 times a day with food, with meals to reduce stomach upset. But berberine's been studied in type 2 diabetics, particularly in Asian cultures, as well as in heart failure patients. There are even some studies showing that it may reduce mortality in people who with heart failure. And then even red yeast rice. Red yeast rice has many studies. There's one actually really big study. It was a multi-center double-blind randomized controlled trial in about 5,000 patients in China, over an average time of 4.5 years, and it significantly cut mortality by a third, reduced the primary endpoint by 45%, which was a combination of non-fatal heart attacks and death from coronary heart disease. It even reduced death from cancer by almost 60%. So red yeast rice, I think it would be great to have more confirmatory studies like that. But half of the monocolins in red yeast rice is actually lovastatin. And so we know statins, have some certain benefits, particularly for the secondary prevention of heart disease. And that study that I had mentioned in red yeast rice was in patients who had had a heart attack. So it does make sense that, in my opinion, red yeast rice actually has several advantages compared to statins because it has other monoclonins, it has other antioxidants in it. And it also has, it's been shown in at least 3 human clinicals that people who don't tolerate statins can many times tolerate red yeast rice. So you just got to get a good quality red yeast rice. Typically the dose is 600 milligrams twice a day. But this is, if you want to look up this figure and read our entire review paper, it's entitled Nutraceutical Activation of SIRT1.